The roar of 60,000 fans fills the Estádio da Luz in Lisbon. A young black superstar from Brazil dances by the corner flag after scoring a stunning goal that lights up the Champions League. For one brief moment, pure joy radiates from his face, the kind of unfiltered happiness that reminds us why we love sports in the first place. The crowd, a sea of red and white, is electric, but in that split second of celebration, everything shifts. An opponent, in the heat of the moment, pulls his shirt over his mouth and unleashes the word that cuts deeper than any tackle, any foul, any physical challenge the game can throw at him. Mano, monkey. Vinícius Júnior doesn't just hear it once. According to those on the pitch, including his teammates, it comes multiple times like a dagger twisting in the wound. His face changes instantly. The joy drains away, replaced by that familiar, soul-crushing pain that no amount of goals or trophies can fully erase. He walks toward the referee with purpose, gestures emphatically, and demands action. The referee, recognizing the severity, stops the match. 10 full minutes pass. The game grinds to a halt while the world watches another black athlete forced to confront racism in real time, on the biggest stage in club football. This isn't ancient history or some relic from a bygone era. This happened in February 2026. And it's not the first time. Not even close. Vinícius has faced this nightmare over and over again throughout his career in Europe. But here's what hits hardest. Stories like his aren't isolated to one continent or one league. They echo the same dehumanizing abuse we've seen right here in America. From NFL locker rooms where players have reported racial tensions, to NBA arenas where stars face online barrages, from college stadiums packed with fans to Olympic tracks where athletes push their bodies to the limit. Black excellence met with animalistic slurs, with hatred that, despite all the progress society claims to have made, refuses to die quietly. Think about it deeply. How many times have we, as fans, as viewers, as a global community, watched brilliant athletes, men and women who've dedicated their entire lives, sacrificed their youth, their bodies, their personal time to their craft, reduced to nothing but the color of their skin? How many careers have been scarred by these moments? How many spirits have been broken, or at least deeply wounded? While fans cheer on the spectacle, organizations issue generic statements, and societies at large look the other way or offer empty platitudes about unity. Tonight, in this video, we're diving deep into the latest chapter of Vinícius Júnior's painful and very public battle against racism in football. But we're not stopping at the pitch in Lisbon. We're connecting it directly to the American reality, the same patterns of discrimination that have plagued black athletes from the pioneering days of Jackie Robinson all the way to today's superstars. We'll uncover the emotional toll this takes, the institutional failures that allow it to persist, and the hidden angles and systemic issues that most people refuse to see or acknowledge. Vinícius Júnior was born on July 12, 2000, in São Gonçalo, a working-class city in the state of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He grew up in modest beginnings, in a neighborhood where opportunities were limited, but his love for football was undeniable from a very young age. As a kid, he would spend hours kicking a ball on uneven, dusty fields, dreaming big despite the challenges around him. By his teenage years, his talent shone brightly. Fast feet that could leave defenders in the dust, dazzling dribbles that turned games around, and a charismatic smile that lit up the pitch and endeared him to fans. It wasn't long before scouts from top clubs took notice. Flamengo, one of Brazil's biggest clubs, gave him his professional debut, and he was electric right away, scoring goals, providing assists, and displaying flair that made seasoned defenders look foolish. Real Madrid came calling in 2018 when he was just 18 years old. The transfer fee was substantial, reflecting the immense potential they saw in him. The boy from the favelas and modest streets of São Gonçalo stepped into one of the most prestigious and high-pressure environments in world football, carrying not just his own dreams but those of his family and his entire community back home. It was supposed to be the fairy tale beginning of a legendary career. But almost immediately, the dream collided head-on with a darker, uglier reality. Spain, and much of European football, wasn't fully ready for a confident, expressive, black Brazilian player who celebrated his goals with unbridled joy and flair. From the moment he arrived at the Santiago Bernabéu, racist chants, monkey noises from the stands, and vile insults followed him from stadium to stadium, match after match. This wasn't subtle microaggressions. It was overt, loud, and persistent. This kind of experience isn't new to American ears or to anyone familiar with the history of black athletes in the United States. Think about the parallel struggles faced by so many. Colin Kaepernick taking a knee during the national anthem to protest police brutality and systemic racism, only to be effectively blackballed from the NFL. WNBA players enduring racial abuse both online and in arenas, often intersecting with sexism. High school and college stars, particularly in the American South, still hearing racial slurs from opposing fans as recently as 2025 and 2026. The pattern is global in scope, but it feels painfully familiar here in the United States, where sports have long served as both a ladder for black excellence and a brutal battlefield for racial hatred and resentment. Over time, Vinícius became more than just an extraordinarily talented player on the field. He turned into a powerful symbol of resistance and resilience. He speaks out against the abuse. He posts on social media calling for change. He refuses to stay quiet or shrink himself to make others comfortable. And for that courage, unfortunately, the abuse often intensifies. La Liga has documented dozens of incidents involving him since 2021. There have been 20-plus reported cases at different grounds across Spain. Effigies of him have been hung from bridges in sickening displays. Bananas have been thrown onto the pitch in reference to monkey chants. There are even reports of parents teaching their children to join in racist slogans, perpetuating the cycle of hate across generations. Why does this matter so deeply to all of us? Because sports are supposed to represent the ultimate meritocracy. A pure arena where talent, hard work, skill, and determination rise above everything else, including background, nationality, or skin color. Yet time and again, when black athletes dominate their respective sports and express their joy and personality, the old ugly tactics return. Dehumanization through slurs, intimidation through crowd hostility, and a deliberate attempt to break their spirit and focus. In America, we have seen this exact dynamic play out historically and in modern times. Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier in Major League Baseball faced death threats. Spiked shoes aimed at his legs, constant verbal torment from opponents and fans alike. Muhammad Ali, the greatest heavyweight champion, faced not only racism but also backlash for his political and religious stances. Modern stars like LeBron James have received death threats and streams of racial slurs simply for speaking out on social issues that affect their communities. Vinícius Júnior is walking that very same difficult path on the international stage, representing both his club and his country with pride. The specific incident in February 2026 against Benfica in the Champions League wasn't some random occurrence or isolated misunderstanding. It came right after a brilliant, skillfully taken goal by Vinícius. He danced in celebration, that signature move that embodies life, success, and the pure joy of the game. And that very confidence, that expression of self, triggered something ugly and primal in an opponent. Gianluca Prestianni, a young Argentine player for Benfica at just 20 years old, allegedly fired off the slur while hiding behind his jersey. Kylian Mbappé, Vinícius's high-profile teammate, publicly stated that he heard the word multiple times during the confrontation. The referee, François Letexier, activated the official anti-racism protocol without hesitation. The match was stopped, and the world's attention turned from the beautiful game to the ugly underbelly beneath it. But stopping the match for 10 minutes is merely the surface-level response. What happens in the heart and mind of a young man who keeps experiencing this kind of dehumanization over and over? What does it do to his focus during matches, to his mental health off the pitch, to his trust in the sport he has loved since childhood? And why, after years of high-profile campaigns, awareness videos by governing bodies, fines imposed on clubs, and public statements, does this vicious cycle keep repeating itself in 2026? This story forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about how racism operates in modern society, not just through overt, headline-grabbing acts by individuals, but through the systems, cultures, and institutions that too often protect perpetrators, normalize hostility in the name of passion or rivalry, and view black bodies primarily as sources of entertainment and profit rather than as full human beings with emotions, rights, and dignity. Let's go back to the very beginning of Vinícius's journey to understand the full context. As a young boy in Brazil, Vinícius Júnior was kicking a worn-out ball on uneven, makeshift fields in São Gonçalo, surrounded by the realities of economic hardship but fueled by an unbreakable passion for the game. Local scouts quickly noticed his raw talent and potential. He joined Flamengo's youth academy, where he made his professional debut as a teenager. He was electric from day one, scoring crucial goals, delivering pinpoint assists, and showcasing a natural flair and creativity that made him a fan favorite almost instantly. His performances caught the eye of Europe's elite, and Real Madrid made a significant investment to bring the teenager across the Atlantic. The pressure upon arrival in Madrid was immense. Expectations at a club like Real Madrid are sky-high. One misstep can define or derail a career. He arrived full of hope and ambition, with the potential to become a club legend if he could deliver consistently. But almost right away, the positive whispers about his skill were overshadowed by darker, more sinister ones. In 2019 and 2020, there were isolated but concerning incidents. By 2021, things escalated dramatically. La Liga's official reports began piling up with complaints. October 2021 saw abuse during a high-stakes El Clásico against Barcelona. Other notorious grounds followed: Atlético Madrid Stadium, Valencia's Mestalla, Mallorca, and many more across the country. Picture the scene in your mind. Vinícius walking onto the pitch week after week, knowing deep down what might await him from certain sections of the crowd. The monkey chants beginning from a vocal group of ultras, spreading like a virus through parts of the stadium. Despite it all, he often scores anyway. He celebrates with that infectious energy. And then comes the retaliation. More abuse, more hostility. One of the most painful and widely publicized early chapters unfolded in May 2023 at Valencia's Mestalla Stadium. Racist abuse rained down relentlessly from the stands. Vinícius pointed it out to officials, demanding it stop. Shockingly, he was the one sent off in the moment. The world saw the viral video of a young man standing tall amid a storm of hatred. Eventually, 3 fans were identified, arrested, and jailed, a rare instance of accountability. But Vinícius later spoke emotionally in interviews, saying it broke something inside him. "I suffered a lot and I still suffer," he admitted. He openly questioned why racism seemed so normalized in parts of La Liga. Rather than receiving unequivocal support, some commentators and fans criticized him for provoking the abuse by dancing after goals or being too expressive and flashy on the field. Does this sound familiar to anyone following American sports? In the NFL, black quarterbacks have historically been labeled thugs or unprofessional for celebrating touchdowns in ways that white players do without similar scrutiny. In the NBA, black basketball players are often told to act more professional, while their white counterparts receive praise for similar emotional displays. The double standard is glaring and persistent. Fast forward through the subsequent years filled with similar incidents. More effigies hung in disgraceful protests. Additional legal complaints filed by the player and his club. Vinícius evolved into a vocal activist off the field as well. He partnered with various anti-racism organizations, used his platform to raise awareness, and continued pushing for systemic change. FIFA and UEFA issued statements and implemented protocols, yet the abuse, sadly, continued in various forms. Now, let's examine the February 17, 2026, incident in greater detail. It was the Champions League playoff first leg between Benfica and Real Madrid, played at the iconic Estádio da Luz in Lisbon. The atmosphere was tense from the outset, with Real Madrid entering as favorites but facing the challenges of an away fixture against a passionate Portuguese side. In the early stages of the second half, Vinícius received the ball on the left flank. With his trademark skill, he took a touch to control it, another to create space, and then unleashed a curling strike from a difficult angle that found the top corner of the net. Goal! Real Madrid took a 1-0 lead, and the celebration followed naturally. He sprinted to the corner flag and danced with unbridled joy, pure, authentic emotion after a moment of brilliance. Benfica fans reacted by throwing objects onto the pitch. Tension escalated quickly as players from both sides converged. Then Gianluca Prestianni, the 20-year-old Argentine forward, approached Vinícius. He pulled his shirt collar over his mouth, and words were exchanged. According to Vinícius himself and multiple witnesses, including superstar teammate Kylian Mbappé, Prestianni repeatedly uttered "mano," the Portuguese and Spanish word for monkey. It was a direct, vile, and intentional act of dehumanization aimed at stripping away Vinícius's humanity in that moment of triumph. Vinícius's reaction was immediate and visceral. He went straight to the referee, François Letexier, explaining what had happened. The referee acted decisively, activating the UEFA and FIFA anti-racism protocol. The players stood with arms crossed in solidarity as the announcement was made over the public address system. The match was paused for approximately 10 minutes, bringing the beautiful game to a standstill. Imagine the intense scene unfolding. Players from both teams milling about on the field, unsure how to proceed. Vinícius, visibly affected, walked off briefly toward the dugout area and sat down at one point to compose himself. His Real Madrid teammates rallied around him supportively. Mbappé, in particular, confronted Prestianni directly, calling out the racism in strong terms. The crowd's reaction was mixed. Some sections showed support for the protocol, while others remained hostile or indifferent. Prestianni denied the allegations immediately after the match. He claimed it was something else entirely. Later reports indicated he may have admitted to some form of anti-gay conduct in the exchange but firmly denied the racial slur. Benfica's organization pushed back hard, calling the accusations part of a defamation campaign against their player. Even José Mourinho, the experienced manager, weighed in on the controversy, adding fuel to the fire. The incident exploded across global headlines and social media platforms. Eventually, the game resumed after the pause. Real Madrid managed to hold on for a hard-fought victory. But the real damage extended far beyond the final scoreline. Headlines dominated sports pages worldwide. Social media erupted with debates, condemnations, and defenses. Anti-racism organizations issued strong statements. The Brazilian Football Federation demanded swift justice and accountability. In the aftermath, UEFA appointed an ethics inspector to lead investigations. Benfica took some measures, suspending certain fans identified for racist behavior in the stands. Fines were issued to involved parties. Prestianni ultimately received a disciplinary ban, though the full outcome centered more on anti-gay conduct rather than the racial element in official rulings. For Vinícius, it was another deep scar on his journey. Another night where his excellence on the field was met with hatred off it. In subsequent posts and interviews, he shared messages of resilience while privately admitting the accumulating toll. The emotional trauma builds over time, anxiety creeping in before big matches, a constant hyper-awareness of surroundings, and the heavy psychological weight of being positioned as the one who must always speak up and represent. What are the long-term consequences for players enduring this repeatedly? They carry the burden into national team duties with Brazil, into their personal relationships and family lives. Loved ones worry constantly about the mental strain. Mental health struggles often remain hidden from fans who only see the superstar on the pitch. Meanwhile, segments of the media and fanbase question Vinícius's reaction, labeling him too sensitive or suggesting that his goal celebrations somehow provoke the abuse. This classic victim-blaming tactic is all too common, mirrored in America when black athletes raise their voices against police brutality, inequality, or unfair treatment and are told they should just shut up and play. How many times must a talented, hard-working man have to prove his basic humanity before the world around him stops treating him like an animal or a lesser being? It's a question that cuts to the core of dignity and respect. The human cost of these repeated incidents is enormous and often underestimated. Vinícius has stated in various interviews that he plays not only for trophies, money, or personal glory but to change minds and pave the way for future generations. Yet each new incident serves as a stark reminder that meaningful, lasting change is painfully slow and incomplete. This isn't merely a European football problem confined to Spain or Portugal. It represents a global infection that spreads across borders, leagues, and cultures. Connecting it back to the American context makes the parallels impossible to ignore. Just as Vinícius endures monkey chants in Spanish and Portuguese stadiums, Black American athletes throughout history have faced coon slurs, watermelon stereotypes, ape imagery in cartoons and memes, and other degrading attacks. From Hank Aaron enduring death threats as he approached Babe Ruth's home run record, to Serena Williams facing grotesque racist caricatures and online vitriol for her dominance and body type. The dehumanizing playbook remains strikingly similar across time and geography. In England's Premier League, players have reported record levels of online racist abuse, often spilling over into real-life incidents. In Italy's Serie A, monkey chants have targeted players like the trailblazing Mario Balotelli. In France's Ligue 1, similar racial incidents have surfaced repeatedly. Even in parts of Asia and Latin America, anti-blackness manifests in fan cultures, scouting biases, and colorism that favors lighter skin tones. Statistics from organizations like Kick It Out in the United Kingdom reveal thousands of discrimination cases reported annually in football. FIFA has publicly acknowledged a rise in such incidents globally. Yet, actual convictions and meaningful punishments remain disappointingly rare. In Spain, while there has been some progress with jail time for a few of Vinícius's abusers, the majority of cases still fizzle out without strong repercussions. A critical twist that most mainstream discussions avoid. Much of this abuse isn't purely random acts of individual bigotry from isolated fans. There are deeper systemic elements at play. Major clubs profit enormously from black talent sourced from Africa and South America. These players drive massive revenue through shirt sales, broadcasting deals, global merchandising, and brand partnerships. Yet the institutional structures meant to protect them, security, stewarding, disciplinary processes, often lag behind. Protocols exist on paper but prove weak in practice. Punishments are frequently light slaps on the wrist. Media outlets sometimes frame the victims as agitators or troublemakers, rather than holding the perpetrators accountable. Another hidden angle involves social media's role in amplifying toxicity. Algorithms are designed to reward engagement, and outrage generates clicks, views, and comments. Betting frustrations after a missed penalty or lost match often fuel racist rants directed at black players. In certain organized ultras groups across Europe, racism becomes intertwined with club culture, identity, nationalism, and anti-immigrant sentiments. This has direct parallels in America, where successful black athletes who speak on political or social issues face coordinated online hate campaigns. Power dynamics are crucial to understanding this. Wealthy European leagues routinely import raw talent from economically poorer regions of the world, turning them into superstars and revenue generators, only for some to face abuse rooted in xenophobia and racism. It echoes uncomfortable colonial legacies where black bodies were commodified for labor and entertainment, not granted full humanity or equal respect. When comparing to the American sports landscape, the NFL continues to grapple with issues around racism in ownership structures, coaching diversity, and player treatment. NBA players who have knelt or protested for social justice have faced significant backlash from segments of the fan base and media. The global pattern demonstrates how racism adapts and evolves, moving from physical stadium chants to digital direct messages, from blatant slurs to more subtle forms of exclusion and questioning of merit. An uncomfortable truth that demands acknowledgement. Many so-called anti-racism campaigns in sports remain largely performative. We see rainbow laces for awareness months, pre-match statements read by captains, moments of silence, and social media black squares. While these gestures have value in raising visibility, real, structural change requires much more aggressive measures. Banning entire clubs from competitions for repeated failures, lifetime stadium bans for proven abusers, point deductions or relegation threats for fan behavior, and comprehensive cultural education programs starting at the youth academy level. Without genuine accountability and enforcement, heartbreaking incidents like the one involving Vinícius Júnior will sadly continue to occur. This issue connects across continents because anti-black racism operates as a transnational phenomenon. From the favelas of Brazil, where Vinícius originated, to the inner cities of America where many black athletes rise, to the historic stadiums of Europe, the struggle for full dignity, respect, and equal treatment in the face of talent and success persists. Vinícius Júnior's remarkable story, from a prodigious talent in Brazilian youth football to a global symbol in the fight against racism, teaches us profound lessons. Excellence on the field alone isn't enough to shield one from prejudice. Courage to speak out is required. Using one's platform to demand better comes at a personal cost. But history shows that silence in the face of injustice costs society even more in the long run. The central lesson here is that racism in sports doesn't exist in a vacuum. It mirrors broader societal attitudes, biases, and failures. It persists not because it's inevitable, but because too many allow it through weak institutions, bystander apathy, denial of the problem's depth, and a reluctance to disrupt the status quo. There has been undeniable progress, increased awareness, better reporting mechanisms, some high-profile punishments, and greater unity among players across backgrounds. But the reality of incidents still occurring in 2026 demonstrates that we remain far from a complete victory in this ongoing fight. We, as fans, commentators, organizations, and individuals, must demand substantially better from all parties involved. FIFA and UEFA for stronger global standards, national leagues for consistent enforcement, individual clubs for better fan education and stewarding, supporters for self-policing toxic elements, and ourselves for refusing to tolerate or excuse hatred. This means investing in education programs that address bias from a young age, implementing truly harsh penalties that deter rather than merely inconvenience, and fostering a cultural shift that fully celebrates Black athletes for their humanity, not just their athletic output. Vinícius Júnior continues to play at the highest level. He keeps shining with his skill, speed, and creativity despite the obstacles. His resilience in the face of repeated adversity inspires millions of young fans around the world who see themselves in his journey. But no athlete, no matter how talented, should have to fight this additional battle alone simply for existing and excelling while Black. Let Vinícius's story serve as fuel for all of us to work toward creating a better world. A world of sports and beyond where no child dares to dream of glory and achievement, only to be cruelly reminded that parts of society still view them as less than fully human upon reaching it. The fight for dignity is ongoing, but with awareness, action, and collective commitment, meaningful progress remains possible. Thank you sincerely for watching this deep dive. If this moved you, share it with friends, family, anyone who needs to see these truths. Subscribe, hit notifications, and join us for more. Next, we explore another untold story of Western leagues. Let's keep exposing and demanding better. Justice starts with awareness. Peace.